Welcome back to Keep
now
that in,
we've
Ryan.
Fixed our wedgies and everything is good to go. We're back.
We're back, and we are going to talk about some weird stuff because, Molly, what on earth is happening?
What on fucking earth is going on?
We definitely, because I don't know about you guys, there's some media coverage on this, but not nearly enough about the Ohio train incident.
It's insane because this is reportedly the most
catastrophic environmental disaster in modern history or
in
ever.
the U.S.
In the U.S.
And also the fact that we get fines for littering because of the environment, but the government is free from repercussions.
Corporations.
Yeah.
Like it's just another day in America.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
But let's give you all the details, shall we? Around 9 p.m. on February 3rd, a train derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, a village of about 4,700 residents. About 50 of the train's 150 cars ran off the tracks on its route. The train, operated by Norfolk Southern, had been carrying chemicals and combustible materials with vinyl chloride, a toxic flammable gas, being of most concern to investigators. A huge fire erupted from the derailment, sending thick smoke into the sky and over the town. Residents on both sides of the Ohio-Pennsylvania border were ordered to evacuate. Local and federal officials started an investigation that involved the National Transportation Safety Board and the Environmental Protection Agency. And we're filming this, what's today? The 19th?
The 19th, yeah.
So there might have been more details.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple
it happened
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, but yeah.
So there might be when we're recording this more updates, but we're going to be as vigilant and up to date with this. But it's it's insane how this came about.
And how it was hasn't really been talked about that much for what it is, for how big of a deal it is. So, and I'm definitely going to stumble over these chemical names, but here we go. So 20 rail cars were reported to have been carrying hazardous materials, chemicals including vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, ethylexyl acrylate, and ethyl glycol monobutyl ether.
Hell yeah.
I almost made it.
Ether.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Were known to have been and continue to be released into the air, surface soil, and surface waters, the EPA said. And so that's just continually happened. That's been happening for 2 weeks. And by the time this airs, it's still happening.
Yeah.
Norfolk Southern said the cars carrying butyl acrylate and the ethylexyl acrylate were breached, and either all or some of the chemicals were released during the crash. It labeled the status of the car carrying ethylene glycol monobutyl ether as unknown. So that the status of that car is, quote, unknown. While it said that the isobutylene, what the heck? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got it. Isobutylene.
Yes, isobutylene car was burned but not breached. And my thing is, even okay, so they say these things. Well, the status is unknown. First of all, doubt it. Someone knows something. But also burned but not breached. And then we just have to, and this is how it works when something's reported, but we just have to believe it.
Exactly.
How are we, and then the lack of urgency with which this is being treated.
Yeah.
And it was also not declared. I think it was denied. The governor was trying to get it declared, get a declaration in place where they would get actually government provided emergency services. And it was declared not.
Yeah.
It didn't qualify.
Well, that's the thing. It's you can't be surprised at this point that there's little trust with the government when it comes to shit like this, especially with the lack of media coverage.
Yeah.
And lack of understanding of how this could happen, and the lead up to this, it just boggles the mind.
There's no accountability and there's no explanation. Even, okay, it happened. And then we go from there, but how the fuck did that happen?
Well, there are some theories floating around, and we'll say this derailment came weeks after Congress passed and President Biden signed into law legislation that forced a labor agreement between freight railroads and unions representing thousands of rail workers and prevented the workers from striking over their concerns with workplace conditions. Now, this fucking reminds me of last year, or was it 2021? I think 2021. Yeah, when there was the big strike happening within the IATSE union for film, where crew members were overworked, underpaid, so tired, and having all of these physical issues because of how overworked they are, and no one gave a fuck. And they were forced into agreement, much like this, just to be keep quiet.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening? Someone got shot on the set of Rust. Alec Baldwin fired a gun that had live rounds in it. And there was unchecked shit going on because of overworked workers, producers cutting costs, cutting corners any way they can. And guess what? Alec Baldwin, just this week, they're resuming filming for that movie where the DP was murdered or killed, whatever. It was an accident, of course, but still, like this is what happens when there aren't any regulations or checks and balances, and you don't pay your workers or treat your workers like human beings.
They're feeling disgruntled. They're having physical repercussions of the job. They're not appreciated and valued.
Exactly. Like this is an exact mirror. This is what happens when you do shit like this, Biden, and are so fucking stupid. The workers' most prominent complaint was their lack of paid sick leave, which they did not receive in the forced labor agreement. But they also said the railway company's business model of suppressing expenses and their staff cuts and use of strict attendance policies contributed to worker burnout and lean staffing levels, according to the New York Times. The New York Times, and I believe, let me double check, Axios, we're going to be putting those article links in our show notes because they were a big help in our research today. But yeah, I mean, this is just laughable that, not even paid sick leave, all of this stuff, the business model of suppressing expenses and staff cuts, like, love that.
Yeah.
A mechanical issue with an axle of one of the 150 cars caused the derailment of at least 50 of the cars. Security footage captured in Salem, Ohio, around 20 miles west of East Palestine. Before the derailment showed sparks of flames under at least one of the cars of the train, which was transporting goods from Madison, Illinois to Conway, Pennsylvania. So what's interesting about this is there's a lot of like different like things that people hear. They put I believe all the heaviest stuff in the back, into the back cars. So I am no physicist. So please check me in the comments. I don't mind. But because of that fact, when they have all the heavy stuff in the back cars, when you brake, that's going to cause, an imbalance. Like things are going to be off when you brake. I don't know if I'm if I sound completely stupid right now. But yeah, it's just a lot of things that should have gone checked. Like you think that were right. I don't know, at least a little bit obvious. So just after the derailment, about 1,500 to 2,000 residents in East Palestine were told to evacuate the area. On February 6th, Mr. DeWine extended the evacuation order to include anyone in a 1 by 2 mile area surrounding East Palestine, including parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania. Okay, this is crazy. Everyone, listen to this. One of the evacuees named Ben Ratner told CNN that he and members of his family had been extras in a 2022 movie adaptation of the 1985 Don DeLillo novel White Noise. In that story, a train derails and spills chemicals, causing an airborne toxic event that forces the evacuation of a small Midwestern college town. Yeah. So there was like, it wasn't just him and his family. There were other evacuees and people in this town that were like extras in this movie about a train derailment with a bunch of spilled chemicals in Ohio.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
It is, and it's not the first time. There's always, whenever something wild happens, like some big event, there's always it's pretty much always been
there
like
was foreshadowing.
Yeah,
like whoever's writing our story.
Yeah, this is really like the Truman
Stephen
Show.
King level of foreshadowing and plot development.
Yeah, exactly. So Norfolk Southern officials said the cars carrying the vinyl chloride were at risk of exploding. So crews released and burned their contents on February 6th, creating a massive smoke plume above the town for several hours. Acute exposure to high levels of vinyl chloride, a classified human carcinogen in the air, has been linked to central nervous system effects, while chronic exposure has been shown to cause liver damage, including a rare form of liver cancer, according to the EPA.
And this is the thing, like, the fact that they had to burn everything. I don't know if you've seen pictures of like
you can see it from space.
It's disgusting and it's so apocalyptic.
And they say like, controlled burn because we decided to burn it, but you're still burning it. It's still going into the air.
That will show you how bad these chemicals are, that they had to burn it.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't even just live the way they were. They had to burn it into the air.
And even like, okay, so they're evacuating a 1 to 2 square mile.
Yeah.
That is nothing. That is nothing. Like this stuff is out there and it's going like with the wind currents and I mean, people are already obviously reporting like all of these symptoms physically, people who are around there. And then also the long-term effects, like this rare form of liver cancer, but also there were 2 other types of cancer. And I don't want to say it wrong, so I won't, but yesterday I was reading an update that I was like, I think lung and another one, but it was just like, that's the long-term effects of these gases are pretty, they're already known. It's not like, oh, maybe. It's like, no, this is what that is. So then give it a little bit of time and see how many of these people who are just like living their lives over there are affected.
I also saw like, especially animals, like they are the most at risk at this point. I mean, besides humans, of course. But like, I saw a lot of people being like, a lot of scientists being like, get your dogs out of this area, get your cats, get your animals, because they are dropping. It's really bad on their immune systems.
Yeah. So when vinyl chloride burns, it decomposes into hydrogen chloride and phosgene. Notice Alyssa has me say all the. According to the international program.
You're so good. Say the bread and butter.
Well, oh yeah, you'll never have a better bread and butter pickle. Ooh, that was a good one too. I'm so. It's my first try is usually the best because I'm not thinking too much about it. Okay. Okay. So when vinyl chloride burns, it decomposes into hydrogen chloride, phosgene, according to the International Program of Chemical Safety. And phosgene is highly poisonous and was used extensively during World War I as a choking agent, while hydrogen chloride is irritating and corrosive to any tissue with which it comes into contact. Corrosive to tissue.
A choking agent.
Used in a war as a weapon to choke people.
What on earth is happening?
What the hell?
So Norfolk Southern said in a statement that its own experts and contractors were testing water from private wells, although those homeowners were encouraged to use bottled water. Norfolk Southern offered residents who did not want to return home assistance with hotel expenses, and there have been no reports or injuries or deaths from the derailment at this time.
Yeah, at this time, these are chemical.
They don't know the long-term effects.
Yeah.
But many are questioning how safe the area is. On social media and in news reports, some residents said that frogs are dying in local streams. There's videos, I've seen tons. Some shared images of dead animals or said that they smelled chemical odors from around the town. The arrest of a reporter during a news conference about the derailment led to online criticism of the law enforcement response. Residents have also complained about headaches and feeling sick since the derailment. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, did you see the video of the journalist getting arrested for covering this? So there's a lot of like, now there's more stuff coming out that it wasn't just because they were like disrupting a news event. That's what they said they were arrested for. But I don't know. Again, I feel like there's like somewhat of a media brownout, if you want to call it a complete blackout on this thing. And it doesn't look good when you're arresting journalists. I don't care if they're being disruptive or not.
No. Journalism is disruptive. That's the point.
Exactly. So I don't, I have no idea. I have no idea how a fucking corporation like this can get away with so much.
Right.
Or maybe I do, and I just don't want to believe it.
Yeah, it's probably that.
Yeah.
We do know. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources officials told WWS-TV, a Cleveland-based ABC affiliate, that it estimates the crash as of February 8th has resulted in the deaths of 3,500 fish across approximately 7.5 miles of streams south of town. Though it is working with the Ohio EPA and a company hired by Norfolk Southern to determine how many fish have been killed. And that's just fish,
That's
guys.
just fish,
So the EPA informed Norfolk Southern on February 10th that it might be responsible for costs associated with the cleanup of the site.
Oh, might be.
Maybe. The agency did not offer details about when the site might be considered completely returned to normal. The NTSB is still investigating the cause of the derailment. Norfolk Southern said they were awaiting results from samples taken from the drinking water supply wells, drinking water system, and private wells in potentially affected areas, and had started evacuating soil, excavating soil.
We got to get that soil out of here.
Soil you got to evacuate. They had started excavating soil from the crash site and would sample soil before disposal. So far, at least 4 class action lawsuits have been filed against Norfolk Southern over the crash, alleging negligence.
Alleging.
And also,
I'm sure there's been more too.
It's now been 2 weeks. Like we said, it's February 19th. It's been over 2 weeks since this happened. And they're saying, oh, we're sampling water and soil now, and there's no results to give, and there's no... what?
There's even more. There's like, I think I was reading this on Vox, that like they don't have systems in place right now to properly study these chemicals and the long-term effects. Like they don't really know. A lot of experts are saying like, the fact that they're burned in the air and like these chemicals are most likely okay because they won't be able to survive so much in the air, but that has nothing to do with soil, water,
right? And even
and the long-term effects of just the citizens in that area right now from that exposure in those first few days and stuff. Yeah. So the fact that they don't have anything, they don't really have the best research.
Yeah. And the fact that they're like, it was deemed like it didn't qualify for certain levels of government assistance from the highest regard. And yet this is still the most catastrophic environmental event in the U.S. Ever, they're saying, likely.
Yeah.
And yet it doesn't qualify for certain levels of assistance that would assist in the study, the samples, and the gathering the data, and also the people who live there. Like,
and I also saw another expert being like, "Well, this is not like it's not as bad as Flint, Michigan," and I'm just like, "But is that any better?" That we've stopped talking about the water in Flint, Michigan.
Flint. No one did anything about Flint, essentially.
And again, like all of these environmental disasters and failures are a system. Are a byproduct of a system that is, yes, of course, but it's all about money. It's all about privilege. It's all about white supremacy, 100%, because they don't care about these like middle class to low class towns. They don't give a fuck about the water and the air that they're breathing. Nothing. And it won't be. We won't know for a while how these long-term effects are. I mean, we saw the long-term effects of people that were at Ground Zero 9/11, all of the first responders. They all have fucking cancer, and a lot of them have already passed away from working on that site. We know that. So I don't know. Our thoughts are with the people in this town. Honestly, I feel like if this was me, and I would be out of here.
Oh,
There's
gone.
No fucking shot.
But that's the other thing, like when we're talking about, exactly. Like that's the other thing about who it affects and socioeconomic status and all of these things, like who even has the option to just leave their whole life, their houses, their pets, their families, whatever it may be. Of course you want to bring them, but like even where do you go? How do you feed yourself while you're away from home? Like these are not options for so many people.
Yeah, they were just, like we said, they were just covering hotel expenses,
assisting. They didn't even say that they're fully covering. Like when they say that, like, oh, they're offering assistance for people that need to be put up at hotels. Yeah. Well, they could be like, here's a $20 voucher and the rest of it's on you. Honestly, like we don't know what do you mean by they provided assistance?
Yeah,
it's so
disgusting,
shady.
This whole situation, and I hope more comes out, and I hope more media outlets cover this and are really challenge, in interviews with these people. I hope they get them, and I hope these lawsuits come out for the people, for the victims, because this is just so ridiculous and embarrassing for our country.
Yeah, it is.
But we're going to shout out Coalition for Rainforest Nations. It's a favorite. They do so much good work. The Coalition for Rainforest Nations assists tropical governments and communities to responsibly manage their rainforests. Healthy rainforests protect against changing climate, generate needed biodiversity, and provide safe habitats. CRN is one of the most impactful charities in the environmental space, and a donation of just 12 cents will avert approximately a metric ton of CO2.
That's crazy.
This means that if you donate $100, you can avert around 857 metric tons of CO2. I've been donating, I think
you've been
at
doing
least,
this for a while.
yeah, for years.
Yeah.
I love it. To donate and learn more, please visit rainforestcoalition.org.
Yes, that's a really, really good one. Those numbers are crazy. 12 cents, how much that could even do.
Yeah. Get on that.
Yeah, get on that. So follow us on IG and Twitter at the SOS Pod. Episode is a good example of like SOS in general and what we try to
Hello?
It's expansive. Yeah, it's all the internal SOS issues of like finding fulfillment in life, but it's also external and the systems in this world that we live in and that we are forced to live in and what it looks like. So we're doing our best to bring topical, relevant issues that are, and sometimes obviously it's a downer, but it's mixed in with enough of the uplifting that I think the more times these conversations are happening, that's the silver lining in these issues.
Yeah. And also to keep talking about it, you know, make people aware of it. That's why we also shout out nonprofits at our episodes, because we want, you know, if you feel very helpless, it's something you can actionable that you can do besides, and if you don't have the money, that's totally understandable. Talk about it, learn more about it,
or even just share it. Even if you can't donate to it, share the link to someone that you know maybe can.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're also on Patreon, $3 a month, $7 a month, or $11 a month. You can help support us and help grow this, grow our community, and help provide resources for us to kind of bring this to a bigger stage. And yeah, I feel like I've missed a lot, but I mean, Google, Spotify, stream anywhere you get your podcast, review. Reviews really, really help on Apple Podcasts, especially help us reach more people. So yeah, my name is Molly Cottrell.
I'm Melissa Rosano.
Here's to turning meltdowns
into magic, I guess.
I guess so. Here's to turning chemical spills into
cancer.
That's it.